Thursday, the 26th of October, we welcome our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. I am Boasting Amafai, and your Business Morning starts right now. Join the conversation on Twitter at Channels TV or at Biz Morning, or just tag me along at B Boasting. You know where to find us. Let's get the conversation started. Let's kick off from the main street with the ever-present discourse around corruption. On Wednesday, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, used the EFCC and the National Judicial Commission conference in Abuja to deliver a 17-paragraph address on why anti-corruption is, quote, a fight for the soul of our nation. This is the highlight from what the Vice President says. He says the escalation of the Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria's northeast was due to the embezzlement of billions of dollars allocated for the purchase of arms and ammunition. This money is taken by senior military and civilian government officials. Point number 2. The VP also says that there's no new major roads in Nigeria or no new infrastructure in the country in the last 6 years, despite oil earnings in the excess of $100 per barrel, due largely to corruption. Point number 3. The Vice President says in the Jonathan's administration, 2 weeks before the March 28, 2015 elections, the Vice President says cash in excess of 100 billion naira and over $250 million were released in a few days before the elections, ostensibly for security purposes. Point number 4. The Vice President also says yesterday that corruption threatens 1, security, 2, health, 3, education, and 4, even Nigeria's corporate existence. And point number 5, the Vice President went on to say that Gavi, that's the Global Alliance for Vaccine and Immunization, the chairman of that organization, global organization, is Nigeria's former 2-time finance minister, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. And the Vice President says that Global Fund suspended funding to Nigeria on the allegations of the funds previously disbursed via the Ministry of Health, saying some of those monies were mismanaged between the year 2011 and 2013, and Nigeria had to refund the sum of $2.2 million. Now, so the Buhari's administration has signposted anti-corruption as its socio-economic cornerstone, but success on that front has been frustratingly slow in coming. So what does the Vice President have in mind as the roadmap moving forward? And this is what he told the judges yesterday, that all nations that have successfully confronted corruption did one thing in common. The administration of justice changed its attitude to investigation and trial of corruption cases. The VP went on to say that investigations must be conducted properly and thoroughly before cases go to court. Of course, he was speaking to the EFCC and the judges, and he says when cases go to court, what is presented is the best case the prosecution can present. And the 17-paragraph, 3-page keynote address went on to state, according to the VP, he says, why should terrorism or homicide cases be more strictly viewed than corruption cases? The misery and loss of lives on account of corruption far exceeds that of any other single crime. And the Vice President concludes, corruption surely is a crime against humanity. Let's cross over to the Market Street from Main Street, where all eyes are watching the regulatory actions of the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the matters relating to the affairs of the listed energy trader Owando Nigeria PLC. Of course, fingers are now crossed until Thursday, the 2nd of November. Owando, the SEC, and the Stock Exchange will be appearing at the Lagos High Court, Federal High Court, to present their defense in the suit brought before the court by the embattled energy trader, challenging plans by the Securities and Exchange Commission to constitute a forensic audit of investigators, number 1, and number 2, and challenging the technical suspension placed on the shares of the energy company. Technical suspension in this case means they'll be trading but no price movement. Meantime, yesterday, the technical suspension on Owando continues as investors traded about 142,250 units of shares of this company at 5.99 naira. Okay, let's take a look at the Wednesday's market trading. That's the midweek, and that's the final full week that we have this week. Monday and Tuesday next week will be the final 2 trading days for the month of October. Then we're effectively down to the final 60 days of 2017 and the fourth quarter. Let's take a look at the markets in summary. Some of the markets we're tracking for you. That's about 0.25% in the green for the Nigerian stock markets. That's taking the year-to-date to 36.3% in terms of the general index return. In market capitalization terms, that's in naira terms, that you can see the 2.675 a trillion naira. The market yesterday, the market cap was up about 1% in dollar terms since the year started. That's 36.8% in dollar terms for the total market capitalization. The price to earnings ratio for the market is currently at 13.2 multiples, trading multiples. Move on and look at the activities yesterday. That's quite a bit on track in terms of volume for what we do on a daily basis. Average 332.9 million ordinary shares, nearly 5 billion naira in more than 3,000 transactions. Look at the 5 big sectors. Of course, these are the 5 most actively tracked sectors of the local market on a daily basis. The banks did 0.68%. Consumer goods was a little bit lackluster. Industrial goods was down very slightly, a bit of lukewarm. Insurance was up 1.16%. And you have oil and gas 0.36%. The big news in the oil and gas was first via Seplat reporting better than expected third quarter numbers. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So the market's still reacting positively to Seplat's numbers, showing that this oil company listed in Lagos and London stock exchanges is now in the green, shaking off the problems it had in Niger Delta last year as far as the forecast